I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I want to know more about what happened to Paul McCartney. How did he change physically? This stuff is crazy. And I'm looking at my video feed, and I got a really good haircut today. I did. I got a really good haircut. I lift up my glasses. It looks good. Yeah, that's a good haircut. Thank you very much, Kim, at CC's Salon in Lacine, Kansas. So if you ever need to go there, or if you ever find yourself in Kansas and need of a great haircut, boom, there you go. She's really, really good. And I got a good haircut, but that's not what we're here for, to talk about my hair. We're talking about Paul McCartney's eyebrows, which have changed in a medically impossible way, and Paul McCartney's eye color, which has changed in a medically impossible way. Now, the doctor that we cited, Dr. Schwab, a spokesman for the National Institute of Ophthalmology, professor at UC, University of California, Davis, he said that severe trauma could shake loose, and I like that word. What is it? Melanocytes. It could shake those loose so that your eyes could change color. Only under severe trauma and if you're very, very sick. So, what about my assertion earlier that Paul McCartney was under MK Tavistock mind control attack? And what about my assertion further still that McCartney might have been subject to even temporal torture, phasing him across both time and space? Sounds traumatic to me. And if I am correct, and Paul was subject to severe mind control techniques, if I am correct, and Paul was subject even to temporal torture, phasing across frequencies, phasing across time, phasing literally across dimensions, it would seem to me a very distinct possibility to provide the severe trauma that Dr. Schwab says could possibly cause a victim's eye color to lighten. Is it the only explanation? No, but I think it's a better explanation than Paul died and they found a guy that looked just like him to replace him, and the guy that replaced him ended up being a better musician than Paul was. I have problems with that theory. I think it has holes. My theory meets all the evidence, and I think is much more elegant, and I just think it's right. Like we saw in the cases of Gladys Presley and Elvis Presley, introduction of disease seems to be part of the MK Ultra, Monarch, Tavistock techniques. It seems to be part of their nefarious toolbox. So could they not also have created medical reasons that would account for Paul's change in eye color and his eyebrow shape? It's my assertion, folks, that the changes in McCartney's eyebrows are obvious. The changes in McCartney's eye color is obvious, but it does not require the logical leap to him being killed and replaced by a double to explain it. In fact, I submit that the killing and replacing is not the most plausible explanation. It certainly doesn't follow Occam's razor, which says the simplest thing is usually true. The evidence that we've examined so far, and we're not going to conclusively prove anything. I've proven it to myself, but whether or not you get it proved to you, what we do know for sure is that McCartney has had inexplicable medical changes, and we're just getting started. And we have to account for and explain these. What is the most plausible explanation? My belief is that the evidence that we've examined so far makes it much more likely that it was the trauma experienced by Paul under the MK Ultra, Monarch, Tavistock mind control that precipitated his changes in eye color and his changes in brow shape. How about a little lip service, ladies and gentlemen? Meaning that Tina Foster and other researchers have also noted profound differences in the lips of Paul McCartney between 64 and 68 and beyond. Again, the differences or how shall we say, antithetical. They go against what we would expect in cosmetic lip alteration. You know how it works with lips. You got thin lips, you get some Botox. I don't know if it's Botox or whatever. What's that called? It's not Botox, is it? But whatever they do to lips to make them all big and fat. But Paul's lips go from fuller to distinctively thinner. Everybody wants to go the other way, but Paul's lips go from fuller to distinctively thinner. And again, from the Italian forensic investigation mentioned earlier and featured in Wired magazine, we have this quote, ladies and gentlemen. Compared to the previous picture, that of Sergeant Pepper's compared to the previous pictures, that of Sergeant Pepper's show clearly that the commissura lip, which is the line formed by the lips of the two, that it was suddenly stretched. The forensic scientists say that the commissura lip or commissura lip, which is the line formed by the joining of the two lips, was suddenly stretched, which obviously is not possible. They say it's not possible, and that whiskers cannot camouflage it. In other words, folks, the phenomenon is all too frequent these days. The lips can be inflated and increased in volume. What is that called? It's not Botox. What do they call that? You know what I'm talking about. The word is fleeing me at this moment, but I will think about it sooner or later. But anyway, the phenomenon is all too frequent these days that the lips can be inflated and increased in volume. But the width of the lip commissura cannot vary that much. It might be slight, but this is not the case for the photos of McCartney examined. Here, the difference between the before and after is too strong to have been caused by any surgery, says these doctors. And again, ladies and gentlemen, on the Christian Whistleblower YouTube channel, even as we speak, I'm showing you pictures of young Paul McCartney juxtaposition with old Paul McCartney, and the lip between the two lips come together and form short in young McCartney, long in old McCartney. The doctors say it's impossible, but boom, whoop, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Profound changes. Look, full, thick lips, skinny, no lip, chicken lips, kind of. Complete change in the commissura. That's a medical term I just learned. Very, very different, ladies and gentlemen. How do you explain it? How do you explain it? Understand who's making this statement, ladies and gentlemen. Not some crazy ex-Pentecostal evangelist on the radio. It's a pair of forensic investigators. This is not just some nerd trolling the internet at 3 a.m. from his mother's basement or his grandmother's garage. Shout out for Rex Bear. These are medical professionals. And also understand what's being said, folks. We now have testimony from multiple medical experts that the physical changes that we have clearly, plainly seen in Paul McCartney are medical impossibilities. Something had to happen. And what I found striking in the words of the forensic investigators in Spain, and isn't that interesting that the Beatles did that song, Well, I Never Been to Spain. I only know the Elvis version, but anyway. And yet these people in Spain are saying that Paul's lips, and they weren't really saying it, the doctor said that, listen to this. The line formed by the lips of the two was suddenly stretched. Did I not just say stretched across dimensions, stretched across time, stretched across space, stretched across time and space caused changes in McCartney's face? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, that this is a better explanation than he died and got replaced by a double. Wow, folks. Wow. And think about this, too. McCartney was in England. He had close physical proximity to the Tavistock Institute, and he regularly disappeared from public for extended periods in 66 and in 67. Could these be the smoking gun? Could these be the key clues in helping explain the dramatic changes in Paul McCartney's appearance, excuse me? Could at least some of those disappearances have been against his will? Could he have been snatched? And could he have been placed in a facility that would facilitate more intensive physical hands-on treatment, which could have included surgical procedures? But more importantly, since the doctor said surgery couldn't do these things, they could have got that brother, locked him down, and did the temporal torture, phase him across time and space, ladies and gentlemen. Who else knows who knows what else they could have done? It also must be stated that even though Paul was generally considered the most attractive of the Beatles, ego can never entirely be ruled out. It's within the possibility that McCartney would have had some voluntary plastic surgery, but yet the things that were done to him can't be explained by plastic surgery. The Italian, it wasn't Spain, it was Italy, my bad. The Italian biometrical analysis of Paul McCartney concluded that there were discrepancies in McCartney's facial features that could not be accounted for by error or by plastic surgery. We've seen changes in Paul McCartney. Science says they can't be accomplished via plastic surgery. What then could be so powerful that it could change a person's appearance beyond what is thought to be possible with medical technology then and even now available, and do it, relatively speaking, within a couple years, virtually, relatively overnight? Is Paul dead? Has he been replaced? Or is there a better explanation? I'll tell you what, I am so happy that I'm sitting here right now in a fluffy environment. That's focused life force energy, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sitting in a more nurturing environment. It allows my brain to operate at these incredibly high frequencies. It allows my brain to operate with this incredibly high efficiency where I can see these things and bring them to you, folks. I'm not saying that it'll make you me, but it gives you a shot to be the best that you can be if you have fluffy, focus, life force energy. Go to my website, jeffreydaugherty.com. Click on the Focus Life Force Energy logo. Go read about the free trial they want to give you. They don't even want you to list a credit card. A free trial, ladies and gentlemen. 15 days in your home, 15 days on your cell phone, 60 feet in all directions, up, down, back and forth, inside out, over and out. Ladies and gentlemen, find out what it feels like to be in a more nurturing environment, and find out how good you can really be by getting into some fluffy. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com. Click on the Focus Life Force Energy FLFE logo. Do it right after the show and find out what you've been missing. And I'm sure you want to sign up. And it's cheap, don't worry, much less than a couple cups of mediocre coffee from a national chain per week. So anyway, is Paul dead? Or is there, folks, a better explanation? Is there a better explanation? Well, Gladys Presley, we saw, underwent significant psychological and physical changes. We saw the same thing happen to Elvis Presley. And what I find interesting as a researcher is, as I look back and compare my voluminous notes, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you they are voluminous. Voluminous. No problem with the size of my notes, ladies and gentlemen. Voluminous, I guarantee it. Let me tell you, they are voluminous. But Presley's changes, Mrs. Presley's changes, manifested in roughly the same time or the amount of time that Paul McCartney's changes occurred. Happy, relatively thin, a little toddy now and then, to drug addicted, alcoholic, grossly overweight, depressed Gladys Presley. And about the same amount of time as the changes that we have documented about Paul McCartney occurred. Such pronounced physical alteration, in my opinion, in such a short time span is very, very striking. Now, we have to say that Gladys Presley's changes were aided by alcohol. Were there any documented correlations of substances or illnesses that could have played a part in McCartney's transformation? Well, Paul said in June 1967 to Queen magazine, "After I took LSD, it opened my eyes. We only use 1/10 of our brain. Just think what we could accomplish if we could only tap that hidden part. It would mean a whole new world." Paul McCartney talking about LSD in an interview. Notice the date of the interview, 1967. There it is again, 67. These words were spoken in the very midst of his profound physical changes and the profound changes in the direction of the Beatles. We had the happy-go-lucky Paul, and now he had turned into a thinning, brooding recluse, extolling the virtues of LSD. I see it as another connection, another similarity to Gladys Presley, to Elvis Presley, who I think were the first two prominent victims of the MK Ultra Tavistock monarch mind control. Remember, Gladys Presley was killed. She wasn't replaced by a double. Elvis Presley was rendered inert. He was not replaced by a double. And my assertion, folks, as I check my time and make sure we don't go over time, Paul McCartney's artistic, his social, his mental, and his physical changes resulted from a similar mind control assault as was leveled on Gladys Presley, as was leveled on Elvis Presley. And like the Presleys, my conclusions are that Paul was not replaced by a double. Paul was not replaced by a double. But sometimes you get so stinky and smelly that you wish you could be replaced by a double. Have you ever been there, ladies and gentlemen? You stink, you smell, you said to yourself, I wish I could be replaced by a double. But there's a much easier solution. Get in the bath, get in the shower, grab you some Hero soap. It's made by veterans. It supports veterans. It is molded between the thighs of virgins. No, that's not true, but it is organic. It is made with the best materials. It is handmade, and it is made by veterans, and it does support veteran charities and work. It's called Hero Soap. Let freedom clean. Go to my website, jeffreydaugherty.com. Click on that snazzy American flag logo. They'll give you a great discount. It really is great stuff. And I need to let them know I'm out of soap. Almost. I still smell like peppermint. Don't worry about it. But ladies and gentlemen, even if it's not molded between the thighs of Vestal virgins, it's still really, really good stuff. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com. Hero Soap. Click on the American flag logo. Get a great discount. Let freedom clean. And please don't tell them I said that it was pressed between the nubile thighs of Vestal virgins, because that's simply not true. But what is true is that LSD is often used by MK Ultra mind control. Encyclopedia Britannica says that MK Ultra Monarch, I keep saying Monarch because I want you to look for butterflies, and if you see butterflies, say goodbye in your favorite YouTubers and other productions, because it's a classic MK Ultra symbology. But they use numerous methodologies to manipulate people's mental states, alter their brain functions, including surreptitious. That means secret administration of drugs, especially LSD, ladies and gentlemen. They roofie you. Your food. Are they roofing the chemtrails? Are they roofing the water? I don't know, folks. But early CIA efforts focused on LSD, which came to dominate much of MKUltra's programs. The CIA wanted to know if they could make Russian spies defect against their will and whether the Russians could do the same to their own operatives. LSD was administered to CIA employees, military personnel, doctors, and other government agents, and members of the general public in order to study their reactions. LSD and other drugs, usually administered without the subject's knowledge or consent, ladies and gentlemen. The aim of this was to find out if the drugs could irresistibly bring out deep confessions or wipe out a subject's mind and render him as a robot agent. This is from the 1995 book, CIA Experiments with Mind Control on Children. The Office of Security used LSD in interrogations, and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the chemist who directed MKUltra, had other ideas. He thought it could also be used in covert operations, says M.A. Lee and B. Schlein in 1985. Acid Dreams, A Complete History of LSD, the CIA, the 60s, and beyond. By 1962, the CIA and the Army had developed a series of super hallucinogens, such as the highly touted BZ, that's Baker Zulu, which was thought to hold greater promise as a mind control weapon. And oh yeah, what did Paul McCartney admit that he was using? LSD. It becomes, in my opinion, much less a leap of logic and deduction to consider that McCartney's sudden, abrupt, inexplicable personal and professional changes could have been due, at least in part, to his usage of LSD. Now, the idea, in fact, becomes plausible in view of the testimony we just heard about the use of LSD in conjunction with mind control. McCartney was exhibiting dizzying changes in personality. At the same time he admits to using LSD, dudes, how much was he using? I didn't even know he was using. The changes and the usage correspond exactly to the period where his profound, medically impossible physical changes were manifesting. Same exact time frame. All that's left to any objective researcher, just connect the dots. McCartney would have been subjected to attacks that had been refined and improved by testing on both Gladys and Elvis Presley and many other unfortunate victims. And folks, we are being subjected to attacks that have been refined and improved by their uses on Gladys Presley, Elvis Presley, Paul McCartney, and others on down through the line to today. They've had 50 years to work on this shit, ladies and gentlemen. And what are they rolling out to us? What are they rolling out on us? According to a former Illuminati insider, current shaman, and medical doctor, he's confirmed my suspicions in this matter based on what he claims is direct insider knowledge concerning it. As a medical professional, he's been involved in or has witnessed mind control experimentation within the realms of governmental and para-governmental organizations. That means organizations that are loosely affiliated with government or are outside government but still work with government. That's para-governmental. And after many hours of consultation with this highly credible insider, it's my studied conclusion that intense astral, energetic, and physical mind control assault on Paul McCartney could very well account for his changes, even the physical ones, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I know that it sounds crazy, but it sounded crazier when I first brought this out 2-3 years ago. When I first started talking about this, the suggestion of such a thing as temporal or cross-dimensional abuse, I was laughed at. But today, it's not so fun anymore, is it? Today, we know and are open to many more possibilities. And I wish we could dismiss them, but they are here and they are real and they're staring us in the face. literally the face of Paul McCartney. When you consider the profound physical changes in Paul, when you consider the medical and the forensic expert testimony that these changes are impossible via plastic surgery, we're forced to look elsewhere for explanations. That Paul is dead and replaced by double is one explanation. Is it, however, the most likely explanation? We saw Gladys Presley undergo massive health and physical changes under mind control attack. We saw how the personality of Elvis Presley and the body of Elvis Presley changed dramatically under the same types of assault. Many of Paul McCartney's changes could be likewise explained, as shown here in the expert testimony, and mine added to it. Physical changes can't be explained by modern technology. There is still a simpler answer than the one offered by the Paul is dead school of thought. Paul may very well have been subjected to medical technology that's not known to the public. Knowing what we know about the secrets of the military-industrial complex, it's not a huge leap to believe that there's great advances in medical science that we have no idea about. Looking at these physical changes, I can't dismiss the possibility of some sort of dimensional or temporal assault, and I think it's more intellectually pleasing than the idea of Paul is dead. We're going to have to stop right there for today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with more of this fascinating information about the assault on Aquarius, angels and demons. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, also known as the Christian Whistleblower on YouTube. This is Unindoctrinate, and you've been listening to Odyssey Radio, taking you into the midnight hour, reminding you of your personal power. We're the last generation of real humans. We can win today and build a better tomorrow if we just get busy.